Hey Tatos, I'm Mr. Huda, and in this new series, I'll be attempting to Winstreak Brotato on the hardest difficulty with randomized characters and weapons. I started this game a bit late, but I estimate my win rate playing like this will be close to 50%, and through practice, I plan on improving to get it as close to 100% as possible. I'll be explaining my thought process on each decision I make, and I'll be going over different stats throughout the run, and comparing those to previous runs. Let's get started. My first random character is the Knight, which is probably one of the best in the game. He offers great stats early with 5 armor and 10 melee damage, and scales really well through stacking armor. His downside of playing only melee isn't really a downside since it makes finding weapons that synergize with his stats much easier. Only being able to equip tier 2 and higher means early game weapons become a lot more expensive, so I'll probably be skipping early items in favor of buying weapons. My random weapon is Spear, which isn't the greatest, but it'll get the job done early until I find better weapons. While Knight gains less value from taking attack speed, I still want to take some of it, as my damage will one-shot everything pretty easily, so the bottleneck for killing will come from how fast I attack. Because I'm melee, my positioning matters a lot for getting as many kills as possible, which makes percent speed way more valuable than if I was ranged. Percent speed will help me weave in and out of pockets of enemies so I can make full use of my DPS safely. At the end of each wave, I'll show how many materials I gained that wave and compare it to every previous run of the series. Since this is the first run, I'm only comparing it to one test run I did before this, which I won with full crit and 3 hunting trophies, so the numbers won't be close in the end. For my level up, I'm given an interesting option between melee damage, luck, and attack speed. My flat damage will be taken care of easily through my character's bonus, and since it's so early on, luck becomes a bit more valuable to find blue armor items and have higher value level ups. Luck is also one of the best healing stats, as the health from consumables can be left on the ground, while HP regen and lifesteal get wasted while you're at full HP. My first shop shows me a great melee weapon and sword, which I lock for next wave. While stick is good value for the cost, I don't want to keep finding only primitive weapons, and it's obviously going to be replaced later on. With my damage, sword and spear will be enough to full clear waves and get good early economy. Charcoal is an interesting item, as I don't lose harvesting because of my 80% reduced modifier, but like I said earlier, the T2 weapons are expensive, and my flat damage will easily be covered by stacking armor, so most melee damage items are not worth the cost. The special waves for this run are Elite, then Swarm, then Elite. 2 elites means I'd like to get strong boss killing DPS early, to get the orange crates for a strong item that can potentially win the run. The reach of Spear with good positioning allows me to keep good pace of material gain despite only having one weapon. My level up shows me 4 very efficient stats early on. While percent damage gets a ton of value late game, I want to fix my speed so I can get kills faster and be able to move more aggressively without worrying about taking hits. As well as grabbing sword for my next shop, I have 2 great common items in Broken Mouth and Plant. Plant offers very cheap healing, but Broken Mouth fixes my issue of low health, and since I plan on taking more speed and luck, my healing will be taken care of with consumables, so I don't care too much about the minus regen. I could lock the Plant, but I'm okay with going negative lifesteal and regen, and I'd rather see more items to get the much more valuable stats of speed, armor, and luck. My damage is still overkilling by a lot, so I need to fill out my weapon slots and get more speed to increase my material gain. Since this character can't take harvesting due to the 80% reduction, these stats don't help with my economy at the moment. Still, I'd rather take percent damage rather than wasting resources rolling, since it will get good value later on. Common percent damage is also good value because it's 5%, and the level ups go 5, 8, 12 instead of 5, 10, 15, so blue and purple percent damage are normally worse to take compared to attack speed. For similar reasons as before, I don't want to take any items in the shop, so I roll, hoping for better blue weapons and more valuable statted common items. I roll into another sword, which is an easy lock, and while I've been skipping most flat damage items, Goat Skull is giving a bit more value for the cost, and I plan on going minus crit anyways, because I want to take as many medals as I find, since it gives HP, armor, and speed, which are all insane value for me right now. Coupon this early is obviously great value as well. I continue positioning aggressively to get as many kills as possible. While it seems dangerous with the new harder hitting enemies, I know my limits, and the more kills I get early on, the easier the late game becomes. This is where early speed comes in, as I can be this aggressive but also dodge hits a lot easier. Unfortunately, I haven't found any speed items yet. Despite having only 2 weapons, I'm keeping good pace, and will get a lot faster once I get more weapons. My next level ups are really easy choices. Blue HP is definitely worth, as I want to get to around 40 or 50 before I feel safe to ignore it. Despite all my talk about speed, 2 armor is just way more valuable, as my character gives 4 melee damage on top of it, essentially giving me 2 blue upgrades in one. Duct tape is good value, as it's giving 1 armor and 2 melee damage for 2 HP, essentially giving me 1.4 levels worth of stats. I choose sword over spear, as the base attack speed on it is better, giving me more chances to get kills. I do lock the spear however, as it's definitely worth it until I fill out my slots. My wave strategy is still the same. I keep staying aggressive until I'm 2 hits away from death. By the way, the wave speed is edited to be 50% faster. Let me know if this is a good speed, or if you'd rather it stay the same, or maybe even faster. Most of the strategy for the game is in the shop, so I'd rather that be highlighted. I do get pretty low this wave, but I stay aggressive to keep my economy high. And the comparison shows I'm keeping great pace. My next level up is very interesting. I'm not too keen on taking HP regen or lifesteal, and blue attack speed is essentially common attack speed value because of my 50% decrease. I decided on taking attack speed over HP, as there are 2 elites in this run, and my speed is a bit lower than I'd like, so I need faster attacks to deal with waves 9 and 11, which really require high speed or DPS to survive. Along with a locked spear, I'm given a great value blue weapon and circular saw, and my first speed item in beanie. With my current materials, I decide on buying the 2 weapons and locking the much needed speed item. Circular saw is great value as a blue weapon, since I'll have a lot of flat damage to make up for its load base damage, and I can make great use of its fast base attack speed, as that doesn't get reduced by my character. On top of that, it has a lot of natural lifesteal, which fixes my short-term healing problem until I can get more luck and consumable healing. My killing output is night and day now with the 2 added weapons allowing me to clear waves really quickly. My new bottleneck for killing is speed, so I can reach the enemies more quickly and cause the spawns to happen more frequently. The lifesteal from Saw is very apparent, as I'm able to stay in the pocket of enemies without the need to run out for consumables. This next level up is perfect for me. The 9% speed from this purple, as well as the 4% from Beanie, will help immensely with my ability to kill enemies. Next level up, I take blue HP over melee damage and attack speed, as I'd like to stay above 40 HP, and I plan on taking minus HP items like duct tape and injection. If my attack speed wasn't cut in half, I'd probably prefer it over the HP. This shop is amazing. Beanie, duct tape, and hatchet are all great items for me. Similar to Saw, hatchet is amazing on this character, as I make full use of its low base damage high attack speed by giving it a ton of flat melee damage. The fact that Knight doesn't show any ranged weapons means my shops become a lot more consistent. I've only rolled once this whole run, because there are very few weapons that waste the shop slots. This wave is normally pretty dangerous if you don't focus the eggs, but I'm very strong right now, so I prioritize my kill speed over wasting time chasing the eggs. Purple crit chance is pretty low value, especially since I'm already negative and plan on taking metals, so armor is the easy choice. Similar to percent damage, crit chance isn't that great to take at blue and purple because it scales 357 instead of 369. Helmet is an easy take despite the speed loss, as it's 1.4 levels of value. I wasn't too sure on how upgrading hatchet worked, so I took it to compare, but realized the attack speed stays the same. Had I known this, combining the spears and taking the second hatchet would have been way better, as hatchet attacks twice as fast as spear. I just started a database of information for this game, so as I go along and learn new things, my decision making will become a lot sharper and I won't make an easy mistake like this. I decided to roll the shop as I have enough materials for an item that can help me kill faster. While rolling is sometimes a waste of materials, you have to spend money to make money in this game. Leather Vest is a great pickup, and I decided to lock Hammer and Wisdom as both will help me reach higher DPS to kill the elites. Since I have so much free flat damage, percent damage becomes a lot more valuable, and Wisdom is a great source of it for killing bosses and elites especially. Wave 8 is normally a bit dangerous and hard to gather materials safely, but my DPS really shows in how fast I can kill the horn chargers. My first crate gives me a very valuable blue item in metal, which gives 4.6 levels of value since I'm already negative crit and I get double value from the armor. Since I'm now level 10, this level up shows only purples even if I roll. I like where my speed and health are at currently and decide between rolling for armor or starting to stack up on luck to help heal late game and help find more blue armor items and purple percent damage items. I decide luck is good enough and save my money for the items I locked in shop. This entire shop is amazing. Snail helps me weave in and out of pockets of enemies even more than speed would, and Metal Plate joins Metal and Leather Vest as a very valuable blue armor item. Since this is wave 9, which is a very economy heavy wave, I take the items that help me clear wave most efficiently. I now combine Spear, which unlike Hatchet actually increases its attack speed as well as its damage, and I take Hammer and keep Wisdom locked in the shop. Wave 9 is just a bunch of small health enemies spawning very frequently. The goal is to keep the spawns popping as much as possible by never letting the wave reach max capacity. This wave shows the value of luck, even when you only have around 20 of it. All the consumables on the ground stick around and let you burst heal, rather than HP regen or lifesteal slowly healing you and being wasted at max HP. While the healing isn't required here, it shows with enough enemies and a bit of luck, you can become very survivable by leaving the consumables on the ground. Despite having slow attack speed, I was able to gather a lot of materials due to the AoE nature of melee weapons and the speed to reach enemies more quickly. My level up isn't too exciting, but I take speed even though it's not as needed anymore because I'd rather take something good enough than waste materials rolling. The impact of speed between 20 and 40% is pretty small, but past 40% is important, as you can begin to run out of the circle of the final boss. I don't plan on running with Knight though, I'll have enough DPS and survivability to kill them. I take Dodge as my second level up, which once again isn't that impactful at the moment, but it will be later. I take the Wisdom I've been locking for 2 turns and decide to combine my swords, which increases base damage and attack speed, and pick up Spear, perhaps to eventually get a red spear. I have enough materials to roll and buy, so I roll and have a deep think about whether or not I should take Gentle Alien. I have a lot of DPS, and through medical turret, luck healing, and armor stacking, I'll have a lot of survivability to deal with the influx of enemies, so as long as +% enemies don't kill you, it's sometimes a benefit to kill more quickly. Medical turret is probably the most efficient healing item in the game, as it heals 3 HP every 2 seconds, which equates to around 15 HP regen. Now with mid-turret and circular saw, I don't need to really worry about getting hit, as long as I fight inside of the turret's range. I take very little damage and heal for a lot, so I don't need to value HP that much anymore, and I can focus more on damage. Something I haven't mentioned yet with luck is not only does it help with healing and shop and level rarity, it also helps with crate drops too. It's all around an amazing stat if you're able to safely build it and keep up with econ, damage, and defense, which Knight is great at. My 2 crates give me Black Belt and Beanie. Black Belt, despite the negative luck, should be worth it as long as the extra XP gives me 1 extra level, which it definitely will. While XP gain seems amazing most of the time, it's only useful as long as you get that full level from it. Since 15% needs 6.6 levels to net me the full level, it should give me it at this stage of the run. My level up pretty much forces my hand at taking the 15% attack speed, which is actually only 7.5%, but is still great to take. Tree is an amazingly efficient find, as it not only bolsters the consumable healing I plan on taking, but it helps find more crates, especially with my luck. While Rock is a pretty useful weapon for Knight as it gives armor, my slots are already taken by good enough weapons, and the slow attack speed on it makes me pass. I compare it to my current weapons, and while it's a tiny bit better than the hammer, it's not worth the gold to switch out. I roll into more weapon choices, and after a bit of thinking, I decide on switching out Spear for Sword, mainly due to the difference in attack speed, and the set bonuses are slightly more efficient for 2 swords over 2 spears. I upgrade the hammer into purple as it's a much more efficient upgrade than hatchet or saw. Overall, the sword over spear increased that weapon's DPS by 7, as well as giving 1% lifesteal, 1 armor, and 3 melee damage from sets, and the hammer upgrade increased its DPS by 29. Despite having money to roll and buy, I decide not to, as damage-wise I'm in a great spot, and the rolls are getting much more expensive and wasteful. Wave 11 is where mummies begin to show up, but I have the DPS, speed, and healing to deal with them very easily, so I'm still in aggressive economy mode, especially with the elite coming next wave. My plans changed a bit recently, as I now need to stay in the enemy's face like before, but also venture out to kill trees efficiently, as well as stay in my med turret's range a bit. Another crate gets me black belt number 2, which still should net me a full level, but the negative luck is starting to hurt. Next level up is another pretty easy attack speed choice despite the 50% reduction, as it'll help me kill this elite next wave. Now that I'm deeper in the wave count, I'm less interested in buying weapons, as I'm more likely to find blue and purple items now, which should be more efficient uses of my materials. I roll past the blue weapons into a purple circular saw, leather vest, and bag. Despite circular saw being better than most of my weapons, I decided the cost is just too high. Maybe in hindsight, it'd be worth recycling spear or blue sword for it, as I only compared its DPS to the blue saw, which was only an 18 DPS increase. It'd be around 60 DPS higher than the blue sword though, but I'd lose the medieval bonus. Just goes to show how important base attack speed is, when flat damage overwhelms the natural base damage of the weapon. I pick up leather vest and bag and roll into duct tape and dangerous bunny. Spear is long obsolete now, but dangerous bunny is still very valuable, as I need only 5 free rolls with it to generate value. I take the free roll into another vest and a blue saw, which I stupidly don't replace my sword or spear with. This time, it was a 35 DPS increase, and the added lifesteal for only 102 materials. Despite taking a lot of health, all my minus health items have added up, and I'm sitting at only 34. I'm still pretty safe because of my armor and healing, but I'll definitely want to prioritize some more health soon. Unfortunately, the elite is Eggman, who is the bane of Melee's existence. It's almost impossible to safely get in and damage him, since he constantly shotguns projectiles at you and runs away. If it had been either of the other 2 elites, it would have been an easy kill, but after trying to get him to damage, I decided it's just not worth the risk and kill enemies on the outside. Next crate gets me Piggy Bank, which will give good material value. I don't plan on forcing it to give value by not spending anything, but it will naturally gain materials off my overflow. I choose percent damage over speed for my level up, as my damage numbers are very high, so it's way more valuable to ensure next elite kill and boss kills quickly. And I now notice that my percent damage number is very buggy, I think due to wisdom. It's been jumping all over the place, but it should just be a visual bug. For this level up I chose to roll past range and ended up getting purple luck, which is pretty nice to make up for all the minus luck items I've been taking. Purple knife is a bit higher DPS than some of my weapons, but not by much, mainly due to negative crit. I roll past into 2 decent weapon upgrades in the hammer and hatchet. I spent a bit of time looking over the DPS of my weapons for this decision shown here. Again, for some reason my percent damage is visually bugged at 57% right now, so this isn't taking that bug into account, as I'm just noticing that now while editing. So, Orange Hammer is a 56 DPS increase, which outweighs my gains from replacing a weapon with Purple Hammer. But Purple Hatchet replacing Sword ends up being more DPS than upgrading into an Orange Hatchet. Due to the 2 sets of Sword though, it's more worth to upgrade into Orange Hatchet, as Sword gives 3 melee damage to everything else from its sets. Despite my health being so low and the enemy threat growing, I still want to be aggressive because my DPS is strong and my armor helps me take enough hits. My crate gets me Chameleon, which seems good on paper, because I can make use of the dodge when I need to, but I plan on staying on the move, and I want my percent damage to help kill the bosses more quickly. I roll past the common level ups into a nice 8% damage increase. After recalculating from level ups and items, I should be at 33% damage now, then minus 20% from wisdom, so 13%. Rip and Tear is a bit worse than I perceive it to be here due to the visual bug, but I still think it's worth it, as well as the obvious plus armor pickup. I roll into some crappy weapons, then roll again, and again look into the DPS of my weapons to decide if Purple Hatchet is worth it. It's almost double the DPS of Sword now, due to the natural attack speed, so I finally replaced the blue sword I should have replaced a few waves ago for the much better, fast attacking weapon. Wave 14 is the bullet hell wave, which I should be okay against as long as I can kill the ranged enemies that spawn immediately. As long as your weapons one-shot those small ranged enemies, this wave is normally very easy, but it can be dangerous with the wrong builds. Next crate is an obvious pass, and I take the 2 armor from my level up. I finally find a nice plus luck item with Shady Potion, as it's 4 levels worth of luck with no downside since I planned on being negative regen from the beginning. I roll into Rip and Tear, which fits perfectly going into the Swarm wave. I roll again into Weird Food, then save the rest of my materials for future waves. Rolling more than twice is normally not good value, as the 3rd roll of the turn is more than the 1st roll of next wave. Getting luck and plus consumable healing was really good here, as I needed strong healing soon to make up for my low HP. The Swarm wave will get overwhelming very fast, so I need to make sure I'm staying full HP by fighting near my turret and saving consumables on the ground when I need them. Rip and Tear really shines here, making up for my lower attack speed with extra AoE hits. Next crate is another easy pass, and my level up is another luck pick to increase my healing and crate generation. Steroids is a nice pickup here to increase my health pool, and I only lose 1.5% attack speed due to the 50% reduction. Poisonous Tonic, despite being a good source of attack speed, has too many wasted stats attached this run, which makes the price too high. I roll into Purple Sword and decide upgrading to Orange will be worth it, as Orange upgrades are generally way more valuable than Purple. It ends up being a 51 DPS increase to the weapon, which I think will be worth it. I roll into Triangle of Power, which could end up being harmful, but I plan on killing bosses quickly now, and my speed and dodge make it easier for me to avoid hits. I could take Dynamite to increase my rip and tear damage, but it's a small portion of my DPS, so it's not really worth it. Wave 15 introduces buffers, which is normally a pain, but this build just one-shots everything, so as long as I don't dirt, we surviving. I get into a hairy situation after taking a few charger hits, but with all my luck, I have plenty of consumables on the ground to bail me out of danger. With the elite coming next wave, I really want to secure the orange crate, so I take damage over the health. I just got in a scary situation, but as long as I play a bit safer, that'll never happen again, and I shouldn't need more materials to win at this point. I take Banner as a 5% attack speed item for 150, as I'm already in one-shot territory for most enemies, and just need to hit faster to kill faster. The range is also pretty helpful to be a bit farther away from enemies as I hit them. I roll into Metal and another Banner, which I easily take both, and prepare to kill the elite that is not Eggman this time. We go into the elite, and it's our buddy Knife Guy. He's a lot easier to kill for melees. I just need to kite around his projectiles after the dash properly, and stay close to him when he's not dashing. I unfortunately make the mistake of not respecting the mummy damage, as well as not fighting close to my turret. I correct the mistake and start dealing with the mobs first, then fight near my turret to heal back to full, and I get the easy kill. The crate gives me my third gold medal, and Knife Guy gives me a panda. Poor Panda was stuck in that crate. Panda is a wonderful survivability item that gives 6.6 levels of value. The shop shows me 4 really good cheap items, so I pick them all up. Percent damage, consumable healing, attack speed, and armor are all incredibly good stats still, and for those prices, the shop is practically giving them away. I roll into some doo-doo, then start the next wave. Wings is normally a pretty good item, but once again, speed doesn't get much value past 20%, unless you want to go over 40% and run out of the boss's rings, which I don't plan on doing. Wave 18 is a culmination of all the other wave enemies except for the big chargers. I make short work of it with my strong stats and gather up materials for the final wave and boss fight. Crates give me Cyclops Worm, which is a great addition, and Crown, which is an easy pass. I choose HP for my level up over speed, as it will allow me to take one extra boss hit before dying, giving me more time to heal or escape danger. I get 2 more valuable blue armor items in Metal Plate and Leather Vest, then roll into Glass Cannon, which after some deliberation, decide is worth it as I lose 6 melee damage and 2% damage mitigation for 25% damage, which in my mind is worth the cost. Head injury was also worth a lock, as 6% damage is valuable at these high flat damage numbers, but I took a break from the game at this point, then came back and instantly started the next wave. Wave 19 is another culmination of many unit types. This time it includes the big chargers and excludes the ranged enemy spawners and eggs. Once again, I'm way too strong at this point of the run to be in any danger. My last two crates give me trees, which is great with my consumable healing, and gambling token, which is a nice boost to my EHP. My last level up gives me 2 armor, which is still worth it, despite me having so much of it, as it still grants 4 flat damage to all weapons. For my final shops, I want to spend all my gold on items that are good enough, as the rolls are pretty expensive at this point. I pick up Lost Duck for some more consumable drops, gambling token for some nice bonus EHP, Goat Skull and Head Injury for some minor damage increases, I decide against Claw Tree, as the health is more important than the small amount of flat damage it gives. So before the final boss, I want to go over the stats for the run and compare it to previous runs, aka the one OP test run I did before this. As more runs get completed, these stat overlooks will become more interesting to compare stats for wins and losses, and figure out what works well and what doesn't work as well. I may change how I do this in the future, but for now, this is how I'll be doing it. Because this game has so many variables involved in stats with items giving positives and negatives, and stats becoming stronger or weaker depending on characters and builds, I've decided to compare all stats to something the game values them at, which is the level ups. You probably heard me throughout the run talking about items and level up value. I'll be calling this value EV, or estimated value. These stats will be converted into common level ups to give a generic value to the items picked up during the run, and these will be compared to previous runs. I've separated these stats into 3 categories: offensive EV, which is percent damage, flat damage, percent attack speed, crit, range; defensive EV, which is HP, regen, lifesteal, armor, dodge, speed, and luck; and miscellaneous EV, which is a value given to item effects that cannot be compared to level ups, such as all of these items for this run. Because negative regen, lifesteal, crit, and damage types I'm not using are irrelevant, they are not factored into the calculated EV. From this total EV, I can calculate how much was given because of my character, how much was given from level ups, and how much was given from items. And because I tracked my resources gained and spent throughout the run, I can look at how much each item EV cost me for the run to get a good idea of how much I should be spending for stat value in the future. I may separate materials spent on items and on weapons in the future, and also compare weapon DPS with other runs, but there's so many variables involved with bounces, pierces, and AoE that it may become too messy. The last stat I want to look at for the run is EHP, which is taken from my HP, armor, and dodge, and for this run it's a respectable 371 tilde, which equates to around 8.8 boss hits before I die, which doesn't seem like much, but it is a lot of time to be able to heal back to full. Without further ado, let's get on to the boss battle. My goal for this fight is to keep DPS on the ranged boss while staying in my turret's range and dodging as many attacks as I can. I want to try to get a good amount of consumables on the ground for when I'm in danger. Now that I'm in the ring phase, it gets a bit tricky as the ranged boss will continually run away from me, so I need to try to move towards him and get him killed as soon as possible, so the fight gets a lot easier. Now that the ranged boss is dead, I can move a lot more freely, and the melee boss becomes a lot easier to dodge and damage. I'm taking a lot of hits, so I back off to reset near my turret and heal back up. And now with both bosses dead, I win my first run of the series, starting with the knight and the spear as my random weapon. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed what could be the start of a long series, where I go in depth in Brotato and try to improve enough to keep a long win streak while playing random characters and random weapons. Let me know what you think of the presentation of this video, as it took a lot of time to edit. I'm curious what stats and features you'd like to see in future videos for this series, and I'll see you in the next run.